Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're now listening to the Mind of Terry's Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel. I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. The only reason I'm sitting down right now is because, you know what I'm saying, redecorating shit, getting shit get together right now. So, you know, we going into a whole nother loop and fear of reality down the flight cave, which is where we are right now. Now, I want to talk about a little something before I get into the motherfucking other shit. Now, motherfucking people want to, you go on the internet or you go a lot of places and you want to hear people talk about consciousness and talk about space and this, that, and the third. Now, I like to look at it like this, you know. Now, say you have a cup, right? Now, you got a cup, right? And now you go fill that cup up with water. That fills the void of the cup. Now, we know air fills a void. Everything fills a void. First, now, before we get into anything, let's talk about the zodiacs and let's talk about the process of how things go into in order. Now we know fire was first, so we know fire came first. The first sign, what is the first sign? Aries, cardinal fire. So we know fire was the first. Then we know so that filled the first void of any void. When you want to talk about space. And just for the sake of conversation, because there's no such thing as nothing. Nothing is something. And there's like, it's a yin and yang. You know what I'm saying? Nothing is yin, something is yang. You know what I'm saying? You need both of these. But let's get into what I'm talking about first. Everything fills a void. Now, when I brought the cup reference in, now, like I said, when you fill it with water, that fills it void. But the void was with air first. So let me talk about the void process first. You know, in many ways, ether. This is a whole nother video, but I mean it's different constructs to ether, but in so many ways ether is space. But the ether it puts you in another dimension, another realm, which is it constitutes with the yin and yang. Everything constitutes with each other. But look, check this out. When we get to the situation of voids, the first void is fire. After ether, oh, this, that, but we're not getting there. Let's just talk about it like we're scientists or something. For the sake of everything, you think space is void, a vacuum. Okay, the first void came here was fire, and this is why the zodiac is signed up like this too. Is you can't escape it. It's truth. Everything I kick, you can't read in no books. You can't point to this person and be like, you sound like this person. And then you can find relatable, but at the same time, it's only what it is, and you can't say it's false. So it's truth. It's truth that Aries is the first of the zodiac, right? It's truth that it's a fire sign, right? So, but look, metaphysically, the first void was a fire. Fire is spiritual. It's energetic. It's energy. With force. Force is an energy. It's an energetic force. So force is a form of an energy. Beings use energy. So energy is a force. They constitute with each other. So this is why fire signs is energetic. This is why fire signs see it, and it lightens. It brings light to the void. You know what I'm saying? So now you are enlightened of what you was in the dark about. So you may see visions. It's dealing with sight, dealing with light. This is fire signs. So a lot of fire signs may portray that they're in the dark because they're on a path of trying to show people what they see in their point of views and their visions, which they look at it like they're saving the world because they're trying to enlighten people. Then you have the enlightened ones that may be in the dark because, you know, it's too much light can make you blind. And that manifests into reality as you being naive. You believe in anything that you hear, or just that and the third. So too much light can make you blind. So this is all a construct of the fire signs. This is the first void. The first void, fire. The next is earth. What's next in the zodiac? Taurus. So when we break it down, earth, once fire comes and dances and, you know what I'm saying, and lightens, and which is when it's metaphysically, it's like a spark. It's more like electricity. It's more like the initial. It's more like the spark, the initial force, driving force or something. Like you ever put splash water on one of your electric plugs or something like. That's just like you know, even on cusp elements. If you a water fire element, you're a cloud. I mean, you're a steam. But a lot of things goes into that. Even like fire water, like liquor. You could relate your cusp element to how liquor make you feel. And that's you could relate that to your cusp. You know what I'm saying? If you're a fire and a water cusp sign, you know what I'm saying? That means you are a steam element. You know what I'm saying? You're not fire or water, you're a steam element. But it can play out in characteristics of alcohol, how alcohol make you feel, or, you know what I'm saying, things of that nature. But You know what I'm saying? Back to the subject at hand. When we want to talk about voids, the next void is earth. Now, once fire creates all many shapes and different type of directions and scatteredness and chaos, what's next? Formality. It has to be some type of formality, right? So earth, once the fire settle as ashes, it has to go through the dust element, which is all earth and air signs are dust. The dust signs are dust elements, cusps, you know what I'm saying? So now, when we want to talk about the construct of taking shape, once the fire dances and do everything around, it formulates and becomes ashes, and it becomes some type of earth. Then once earth is there for a while, it start to get stale, it start to get sturdy, it start to get fixated in its own, whatever stuff, the bacteria, whatever start to accumulate over to the point it start to take shape and create foundation or whatever like that. This is why earth is next. So earth is the next void. Then the next void after that is air. Because first comes chaos, then formation, then it has to be another chaos. So then comes air. So this is why fire is and air are sextiles, because of the chaos factor, and this is why water and fire are water and earth are sextiles because of the formation factor. See what I'm saying? But water can be turbulent, but they all can be turbulent in their own matter, and they all can have formation in their own matter. You know what I'm saying? But that's another video. You know what I'm saying? See, when I'm starting to get deeper, I'm going deep. I don't want to lose track. Now, as far as the next void is air. We need more chaos. So air brushes and moves certain dusts and the ashes again, and kind of try to budge the earth to move a little bit, you know what I'm saying, and start to create different shapes and different ideas of how the earth can be layered. That's how we start to get hills and stuff. And like, you know what I'm saying, we have tornadoes and earthquakes and stuff like that. That's how we get hills and stuff like that, and different shapes of the earth, you know what I'm saying. And it's like ideas. This is why the air signs is the ideas. You know what I'm saying? The communication, it carry information. The information where the wind blows, which is air, that information in that air came from a direction. There's plenty information in just the sense of that air coming from a direction, because where was that air pushed from? And it has to have some type of directional sense, because it came from somewhere. It's not just blowing out of chaos, which to you think it is, but it's not. So that's information. This is why air signs information, and this is why earth signs is practical, because they laid the foundation. They settle, they sturdy, they practical. They use their common sense. They know it's not time to move right now. They know until it's time to move. This is why fire signs is spiritual, energetic, the energy, the uplifting, optimistic. You know what I'm saying? It's the seeing, the feeling, and the visions. Because that's the first void. Then the earth void, see, follow along. In the air void, we come in with the ideas and the information and stuff like that, how to take shape and stuff like that. Now we need formality again. Now we get to the water. Once the earth has been taking shape and doing this, that, and the third, now the water comes in out of chaos, but it needs formality. So when it comes with the earth as a sextile, that's an opportunity for it to create some type of foundation and formality. So the water covers the earth, so the earth doesn't have to experience another situation like the square may experience within the air again. So it could be subtle and move at a slower pace. So the water is more like the emotional support for the earth. It's more like the emotional support, and the earth is more like the practical support for the water, because the water is the void of it doesn't have shape, so it needs the earth to take shape. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes it can get cold and just freeze, but then it can loosen up and get fluidy again, but it can get chaotic. But it needs earth for the foundation. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. What the earth need from the water is earth need the sense of stability, like the sense of it's a purpose. Because if the earth is just there with nothing as a shape, with nothing to compensate for it, or nothing to land on, or nothing to have a foundation on, then it's just like an earthquake and you're going to fall straight through the ground. But water fills that void to the point that you can swim to the next land, and you don't have to fall through the crater of the earth. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and vice versa, how they need each other. So that's the next void, right? So when we want to talk about space, scientists is not looking at things right. They're not looking at things correctly because they're trying to find particles and waves. Now, they're claiming to see particles and waves. So the basic hypothesis that they be trying to make around it already going to be at fault. Now, I say that to say this. When you think about space and the reality that you're in right now based upon the programs that you're in and what you have learned, you come to the conclusion that it's a vacuum, that it's nothing, right? Something you can't weigh it. You can't see it. It's just space and matter, right? Now, you think it's impossible to ever know what that may mean. Now, I say that to say this. When you talk about things on Earth, you always want to relate something to something else because that's what makes it truth. You always want to relate something yin to yang. Or you always want to relate something yang to yin because that's going to create a balance, and the balance creates an alignment, and when you are aligned, you are aligned with truth, which is the true vine. So if you are too much on either side, you're unbalanced, and you're going to witness and manifest unbalanced situations in your life. So I say that to say this. If you don't think what I'm saying is true, I'm going to tie this yin perspective to a yang perspective. Okay, from a yang perspective, what do you do on Earth? You think, right? You feel, right? Can you weigh your thoughts? Can you see your feelings? What color is what you thinking right now? Do that even make sense? You know what I'm saying? What color is what you feeling right now? I can't hear what you feeling. Do that make sense? It's a contradiction of senses. You see what I'm saying? So that alone is a representation in the yang realm of something that you have but you can't see, or you can't touch or weigh. But you can't say you don't have it. Tell me you don't have a fucking thought. Tell me you don't have emotions. Tell me you don't have a fucking feeling. You be motherfucking lying. So you can't tell me I ain't telling the truth. And anytime you telling the motherfucking truth, truth is God. And you don't need no motherfucking book to know that. You feel me? So what I'm trying to tell you is, that's a representation of in yang that I just gave you example. That's something you can't see, something you can't touch, something you can't weigh, but it's something you got. And tell me you don't got it. You're a motherfucking liar. You got thoughts, you got feelings. Now, let's go back to the space thing. Like I said, what they've been teaching you, you can't see space. It's nothing, which nothing is something, and something is nothing. Like I said, that's yin and yang. But they tell you can't see it, you can't touch it. It's a void. It's a vacuum. So basically, they describing your feelings and thoughts. So if you're a person that's high in consciousness and you've been in fears and realities and you've seen certain things and you astral travel and you dream and you know how to analyze your dreams and you know how to come to the conclusion to get aligned with yourself and you know that self, you have no choice. I don't care if you're human or not. I don't care if you're human or not. You have no choice but to sit back and come to the conclusion that there must be some inner connection between your thoughts, your feelings, your consciousness awareness, and space. You got no choice. If you're a person with any kind of real sense, you know what I'm saying? You have no choice. Now, you may be diluted because of the programs you're in, like politics and religion and science and philosophy, whatever you're in. You know what I'm saying? Atheist, deist, theist, agnostic, whatever you are. Hebrew Israelite, Muslims, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you are. You're still going to have them battles between the right and left brain confusion with others. We see it every day with debates on the internet and all that. I see it. I'm the Archangel Uriel. I see it. But for the sake of conversation, if you're a person with any sense, I don't care what program you're in, you have to come to the conclusion that there must be some kind of interconnection between, because in the yin realm, you think that's just space, things we can't see, things in void. But we also know the yin realm deals with the emotions, feelings. Your mother told you best. The moon. Yeah, your dad can, your father, which is the son, can lead by example and show you and give you direction on what you should do to make it practical and physical for here. But you need that mother presence. You need that emotional attachment there with you, that emotional support. The moon, your mother, your real mother. You know. So you see what I'm saying? So when we want to talk about space, we have no choice but to know that they're interconnected between your... So like, let's go back to what I initially said the first couple seconds of the video when I was talking about you get a cup, right? And like I said, all the voids of existence, I explained it with the ether, but then how the first void was fire, then earth, then air, then water, then that's how the zodiac wheel set up, and then it do it over again, do it over again, but then the difference is it do it in cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Then the differences of that, you know what I'm saying, it keep breaking down to the point that each sign is different. I don't give a fuck who you think you are because you got the same element as somebody. Every sign is fucking different. But like I said, we want to bring it down to the when I was talking about the first couple seconds of the video, where if you feel in this reality right now, in this void, this cup is a void right now, for the sake of conversation, without talking about the metaphysics of it with the air and all that shit like I was talking about. It's a void right now. We know it's air. For the sake of conversation, it's a void. Space. There's nothing but space in here. You fill it up with water that fills the space of the void, right? So we know space is something, right? So if your thoughts and your feelings is interconnected with the space, right? So we know those are both interconnected. So 9 times out of 10, we're going to come to the conclusion that some of your awarenesses must be what fills up space. And this is how we got space. Because you have a space. The person beside you have a space. Now, in the yang realm, if I can bring it back to truth, when I blend the yin and yang realm, right and left brain, you got your space. You don't want nobody smothering your space. You don't want nobody too close to you. Yeah, you don't want nobody touching you. You want your space. But then don't sometimes in the yang realm, you be like, if you in a relationship for too long, you be like, you tell somebody you need some space. Now that ain't got nothing to do with touching you, but why did you say you need some space? The yin realm part of it, the right brain part of it, you need some space emotionally. You need some space from the consciousness awareness of being too close to that person's spirit all the time, to the point that you need to create your own situations with others and break apart and break attach of that person's energy and what they got going on for a while. You're talking about that kind of space, right? But you just say that subconsciously. See, everything on earth is truth. I don't care what you say or what program you in or what you learn. It still point to the same thing. It's just, it's not what you see, and it's how you see it. It's not what you're doing, it's how you do it. I'm trying to give you the truth way of seeing it, the truth way of doing it. That way you'll be more aligned. You'll be with God. See, what I'm talking about right now, what I'm actually talking about is when you take the yin brain, you have, when you say things on earth that you have no choice to say, but you don't have the right concept to understand that's what you're doing. So when you manifest a lot of things in your life that's out of your hands, you may manifest a lot of positive things, or you may manifest a lot of bad things. It's like it really is here or there. But if you don't know what you're doing, that's what you're doing every day anyways. Everybody manifests and use magic every day. And I'm trying to tell you the sequences of the initial forces that initially push the manifestation skills. That's what I'm talking about right now. So when you complete the right and left brain. So what I'm telling you is when you in a relationship or anything, you tell a person you need some space. Now in the yang realm, you telling somebody some yin type shit. That's some yin type shit. Because they ain't touching you or nothing. You just saying you need space. So what space are you talking about? Emotionally, right? Feeling a separation of that type of space, right? So where's that at though? When I ask you where's that at, you get into something else. You get into like, I'm crazy. You get into something like, oh, this cat be off the wall. Oh, he think too abstract. Oh, he thinking too hard about something. Then you got to bring it back to reality. Or, oh, he getting too far over there. Let's bring it back to left brain. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's when it gets unbalanced. And I'm just trying to create the force field of reality for the world to jump in. And that field of reality is that balance and alignment field of reality. Not too much on this side, not too much on that side. So I say that to say this. When I ask a person, where is that at? They're going to tell me they don't know. It's inside me or whatever like that. So let's get back to the space conversation. When you say, what is space? It's a void or whatever like that. Don't you, if you a person with any, if you've been in realms of reality, don't you have any kind of sense? Don't you understand that, okay, that's where my thoughts must go. That's where my feelings must go. That's where my awareness must go. In the space of void, right? Now, let's break that down a little bit more, right? People who have huge energies, huge spirits, you can feel it, right? Let's just say a celebrity, right? They have a large presence, a large energetic presence. So that means that their space, their realm of reality, the sphere of reality that they created for themselves, the space is huge. Like I said, remember that orb in previous videos I was talking about that you put in to create enough energy for what you want to do? A celebrity did that, right? So they reached enough other people antennas across the world to be picked up on because their energy is so big. So their space is big, right? So a lot of other people in a lot of other different spaces of the world, which is different parts of the lands and stuff, going to know about this person's energy because that person's energy is big. Now, it's big in the yang realm because you can see what they do, but it's big in the yang realm too because you know the impact that they got, the influence that they got. So if we're talking about space and emotions and feelings and frequencies and vibrations, they're the same thing. So as a celebrity, right, his or hers is huge, is big. So people from all across the world antennas could pick it up. If yours not huge and big and you just small time in your own city, my antenna in a whole nother city not gonna be able to pick it up. Your energy ain't big enough. Your senses is not gonna come to my senses. It's almost like a radio station. If I'm driving and my radio on, it's not gonna pick up the radio stations in your city because I'm not in that frequency vibrations. You see what I'm saying? So, but say it's a popular radio, it's a popular channel or a popular radio station, and they got a lot of money and energy and beings backed into it, right? It's so large, you have to know about it. You have to see it. Yin and yang, because you see what they're doing, and then the influence and the beings and the energy that's back behind them, it has no problem. It's no issue with you picking it up because it's large enough for your antenna to pick it up. So same way with a car. It's probably popular radio stations that got a lot of money put into it that I don't care where you at in the world. If you change to that goddamn XM station, it's always going to play clear. See what I'm saying? So when we talk about space, as far as energy and your spirit, as a person, as that celebrity, they space and spirit is so huge, right? That they're able to pick it up. So where does that space go? In the void, right? In the void, right? Now, no. So now it's not a void anymore. Now it's a place of conscious. We know space in that realm is a place of conscious, where your emotions and feelings and thoughts and everything drive out of. So now we know that's what's filling the cup of space, right? So now let's break that down a little more now. Let's break that down a little more now, right? From the yin and the yang perspective, right? So now, like I said, you got your space here in the yang and you got your space in the yin. So all this space that you see, that you claim you can't see, is all of our space